Odogu, who believed women were created to be controlled by their husbands, never imagined that one day he would marry a woman who would completely turn his world upside down. He married 7 wives in his lifetime, one at a time, not as a polygamist. Whenever one wife left, he simply shrugged and married another. And 6 of them left him willingly. You will not even believe what the 7th wife did to change him completely. Odogu was a huge, strong, strikingly handsome man. And he was not just handsome, he was wealthy. The kind of wealth that could get him any type of woman he wanted. But that his 7th wife? She was the one he never saw coming. Nneka was the first woman he married. That one married Odogu with her whole heart. She believed she had found the man every woman prayed for. Calm, hardworking, polite, and most importantly, wealthy. In the early days, he smelled at her, protected her, even walked her to the stream like a devoted husband. Villagers called her blessed. Nneka is lucky. Odogu is such a good man. She blushed whenever she heard it. She believed it too, but the change began quietly. The first harsh strike came because she added too much salt to the soup. He apologized the next morning, saying he had a stressful day. She forgave him. The second rough treatment came because she swept the compound late. He brought her small gifts afterward. Beads, wrappers, like a man trying to repair a cracked wall with water. She forgave him again. Soon, the marks increased and the apologies reduced. Nneka learned how to tie her wrapper high to hide the marks on her waist. She learned how to smile even when her ribs hurt. Shebi a good wife endures, she told herself. Shebi he will change. A man only reacts because of pressure, not because he hates me. She didn't tell her parents. She didn't tell her friends. Shame sealed her mouth and hope blinded her eyes. But Odogu only grew worse. One night, he returned home furious because dinner was cold. Before she could speak, he grabbed her by the arm and pushed her against the wooden pillar. Her breath left her, her knees weakened. "Oh, useless woman! Do you think I married you to come and lazy around?" She cried silently, too weak to fight back. Later that night, when the compound was quiet and Odogu snored like a beast, she sat outside alone staring into the darkness. Her body trembled. Her heart was tired. It was the first night she ever thought, if I stay here, I will lose myself. The next day, after another harsh incident over a burnt stew, Nneka decided she had had enough. Her legs shook as she packed a small cloth bag. The moonlight was weak, but she followed the narrow path foot behind the hut. She didn't want to lose her life there. Just as she reached the small wooden gate, she heard footsteps, heavy, familiar, dangerous. Odogu. "Nneka!" His voice roared like thunder. "Where you think you are going?" Her heart jumped. She held her bag tightly and didn't answer. He stepped closer. "Answer me, before I show you that what you have seen is only the beginning." Nneka began to cry softly, but she still held the bag. She wanted to run, to live, to breathe again. Odogu lifted his hand furiously, the way a hunter raises a sharp tool to finish a trapped animal. Then, Nneka fell to her knees and begged him to let her go. She promised never to speak of his harshness, never to expose what he did to women. She said if anyone asked, she would tell them she was simply not a good wife, that she left because she didn't want to keep hurting him. Odogu listened quietly, a faint smile curling on his lips. And that night, without shame or hesitation, he let her go. When morning came, Odogu stepped out of the hut alone. His wrapper was neat, his hands clean, his face calm. But Nneka was nowhere. "Where is your wife?" Mama Obi asked carefully. "She packed her load and left," Odogu said with a shrug. "If she doesn't know how to respect a man, let her go." By the time sunset came, Odogu had already burnt Nneka's clothes behind the compound. When a neighbor asked why, he said, she took only what she wanted, I am burning the rest." His eyes dared anyone to question him. A man like Odogu could not stay alone. He needed someone to shout at, someone to control, someone to fear him. So 2 moons after Nneka's departure, he bathed early in the morning, rubbed oil on his skin, and set out for the neighboring village of Umuikpa in search of another wife. There, he met Amara unexpectedly. Amara was a young woman, fair and lively, known throughout the village for her cheerful ways. That day, while fetching water at the village square, she saw Odogu speaking with the elders. His clothes were fine, his manner commanding, yet his smile was gentle. When their eyes met, Amara felt her heart leap. He spoke to her kindly, joking, and she laughed. Surely this man is meant for me, she thought. He is sweet, clever, and strong. He is my destined husband. Odogu too admired her beauty and charm. That very day, he asked her to marry him. Amara, her heart full of hope and delight, agreed without hesitation. She told her family she had found a man unlike any other, a man she would love and cherish for life. The wedding day was bright. The village square danced with colors as women tied wrappers in the air and men clapped their wooden ogene. Amara smiled shyly, happy that a man like Odogu wanted her. His eyes were sharp that day, scanning the crowd as if to make sure every woman there envied her. He whispered to her, "You will be the queen of my house." She believed him. For the first week, Odogu treated Amara like a precious pot. He bought her beads, brought her roasted yam from the market, and even helped her fetch firewood once, something he had never done for any woman before. But the wind changes fast. One evening, Amara accidentally spilled a small bowl of soup while serving him. The soup touched his leg. Odogu froze. His face tightened. His eyes changed. "Woman, are you blind?" She knelt quickly. "I'm sorry, my husband, it was a mistake." The first forceful blow came so fast that she didn't even hear the sound, only felt the sting. The second pushed her to the ground. The third made the lantern shake on the wall. Amara cried all night. The next morning, she swept the compound with swollen eyes, praying that it was only anger, that it would never happen again. But she never knew that a single harsh incident is only a warning for the ones to come. Days turned to weeks, and the house became a place of fear. If her food was salty, he reacted harshly. If she answered her late, he reacted harshly. If she looked tired, he reacted harshly. If she cried, he reacted harshly. One evening, Mama Udu, their neighbor, called her aside. "Amara, my dear, is everything all right? Your body is changing." She smiled weakly. "I fell." Mama Udu hissed. "Fell where? Inside his hand?" "My daughter, listen. Odogu is not the man you think he is." Amara swallowed the pain. "He loves me." Mama Udu shook her head slowly. Love is not supposed to hurt. After the third moon, the truth could no longer hide. Amara's laughter disappeared. Her face carried marks like lines drawn by angry spirits. She barely spoke at the stream, and whenever Odogu walked past, she trembled like a leaf. One morning, she failed to fold his cloth exactly as he wished. Odogu's hand struck high again. "You dare make errors in my house?" he thundered. "The first 2 wives failed because they were weak. Will you be stronger, or will you fall like them?" Amara bowed her head in silence. She stayed, for she was in love, and the heart can sometimes blind the eyes. She whispered to herself, "I will find a way. I will survive this house, for love is stronger than fear." Weeks passed, and the harsh treatment continued. Every day brought new tests of her patience. Villagers admired her beauty and thought she was fortunate to be married to Odogu, still unaware of the cruelty that thrived behind the doors of his home. To them, he was charming, wealthy, and admired by all. No one suspected the torment his wives endured. But Amara could not endure forever. One evening, after being forced into a difficult task, she wept quietly in her room. She realized that no matter how much she loved him, she could not change him. Love was powerless against cruelty. The next morning, Amara made a decision. She did not want Odogu to harm her life. "It is better for me to stay in my father's house than to remain in this war zone he calls a home." Quietly, Amara packed her bags, one after the other, and slipped out before Odogu returned from the market. He didn't bother to look for her. He knew immediately that she had run back to her father's compound. And without a moment of reflection or remorse, Odogu dusted his hands and began his search for a third wife. He walked into the compound of a poor farmer named Papa Adaize and greeted him loudly. "I want your daughter. I want to marry her." The man blinked. "Adaize? For marriage?" "Yes, she will live like a queen. I will take care of her." It was a lie so bold the ancestors themselves must have shaken their heads. But poverty blinds even the wise. Adaize was a proud young woman, known for her beauty and sharp mind. When she heard that two of Mazi Odogu's wives had left, she was not afraid. Surely, if Neka and Amara could not please him, it is because they lacked skill and wisdom. "I will show him how a real wife should behave," she told her family, her voice firm and confident. In less than a week, Adaize was married to Odogu. At first, the house seemed to welcome her. She walked quickly and carefully, cooking meals just as she had seen her mother do, folding mats neatly and washing clothes with great care. Odogu watched her, nodding occasionally. "You are clever, Adaize. Perhaps you will succeed where others failed." Adaize's heart swelled with pride. "I am clever and I am strong. This house will be mine to manage. I will show him how a real wife behaves," she thought. The first warning came when she overslept before dawn. He scolded her sharply. Days turned into weeks. Adaize soon learned the harsh truth the other wives had discovered. One day, Odogo lost his gold necklace in the village square where he had gone with his friends. As usual, he would blame his wife. "Adaize, where is my necklace?" She knelt quickly. "Husband, I have not touched it." He cut her short, his voice fierce. Days passed. Adaize worked harder, moving faster, obeying every command, smiling even when her heart ached. Yet, every small mistake, every perceived flaw earned her sharp reprimands or disapproving looks. She realized that no matter how perfect a wife could be, she would never meet his impossible standards. Obedience alone was not enough. Cleverness alone was not enough. Love alone was not enough. But Adaize was proud and refused to give up too soon. She believed that if she could endure, be cleverer and more patient than the wives before her, she could finally win his respect and perhaps even his affection. Days turned into weeks. She cooked every meal perfectly, polished every corner of the house, and greeted Odogu with courtesy and beauty every morning. Still, he found faults. A mat out of place, a pot not shining enough, a word said too boldly. These became reasons for sharp reprimands or disapproving looks. One night, after a minor mistake with the firewood, Odogo's anger flared again. "You dare make errors in my house?" he thundered. "The first two wives failed because they were weak. Will you be stronger, or will you fall like them?" Adaize bowed her head in silence. Her pride burned within her, but her heart began to break. She had believed herself clever enough to survive, but she could not escape the harsh truth. No wife could change Odogu. No woman could satisfy him. Finally, the day came when Adaize could endure no more. She packed her belongings quietly, leaving the house as she had entered it. Odogu did not call her back. He barely looked up from his seat in the courtyard. "Go then," he said with a shrug. "Another will come. She will be cleverer, more obedient, more beautiful, and she will succeed where you failed." Odogu did not bother to explain to anybody why Adaize left. He simply told the elders, "Women of today have no respect. If they want to go, let them go." And before the moon completed its cycle, he returned with another bride. Her name was Ngozi. She was nothing like the others. Ngozi was sharp-tongued, wide-eyed, and walked as if the ground was privileged to carry her feet. She came from Umuele, a village known for strong women and stubborn goats. Before marrying Odogu, she warned him plainly,
I no be woman wey you go control anyhow. Try am, you go explain inside bush. The villagers gasped when she said it. Some laughed, some prayed for her soul. Odogu only smiled, a measured, calculating smile, because he loved a challenge. At first, their marriage looked peaceful. Ngozi cooked well, swept the compound, and even sang while pounding yam. But she had one weakness. She talked too much, and Odogu did not like a talking woman.
One afternoon, Ngozi returned from the market complaining loudly. Ah, my husband, why you dey hide money from me? Even Adaeze tell me say you stingy. Odogu froze. His jaw tightened. Who told you about Adaeze? Ngozi hissed. Everybody now. You think say her matter no spread? Odogu's eyes darkened like a gathering storm. From that day, the tension began. Their quarrel shook the entire compound. Neighbors would whisper through the fence. Ha! This one don't buy market oh. Sometimes, Ngozi argued back, raising her voice, slamming doors, even throwing small objects in frustration, shouting, Oga, what is wrong? I no be neka oh. Odogu would respond with a cold stare and strict words, reminding her, you will learn the ways of this house. Ngozi refused to break. Even with frustration and exhaustion showing on her face, she would still brag to the women at the stream. If he tries again, I go stand my ground. Who he be? Her pride was her shield. Her stubbornness was her downfall. Then came the day of the market fight. Ngozi had gone to sell palm oil. Everything was peaceful until a man joked loudly. Ah, Ngozi, how Odogu dey treat you? He still the control woman now. Ngozi snapped at him. The market scattered. When she returned home, Odogwu was waiting. He didn't greet her. He didn't raise his voice. He only said, so now you dey create a scene in public? That night, the argument that followed echoed through the walls. Some neighbors claimed they could hear the shouting. And by morning, she quietly packed her bags and left. But the truth had already spread. From that day, the villagers watched him more closely. He simply shrugged and said she traveled. But everyone knew. No woman ever returned once she left Odogwu's compound. And now, 4 wives were gone. Yet, Odogwu was already searching for the 5th. He met Ada, a beautiful and simple woman. She had heard the stories of Odogwu's wealth and charm, but also of the conflicts and frustrations that had driven away his wives. While many women feared him, Ada's heart was filled with hope. They say he is harsh with his wives, but perhaps he can change. Perhaps love and patience can soften his heart. If I can teach him kindness, then the village will see the man he can truly be. When Odogwu came to ask for her hand in marriage, her poor mother was afraid for her daughter. But Ada believed she could endure anything. I will respect my husband, she told her mother. Maybe he will change. Her mother wept quietly, but blessed her all the same. At first, Odogwu watched Ada with cold calculation. She bowed too deeply, spoke too softly, and obeyed too quickly. He liked that. A woman with no resistance was easier to guide. Within days, Ada became more of a helper than a wife. Before dawn, Odogwu would call her name. Ada, water. Ada, firewood. Ada, pound yam. She never rested. While other women cooked, Ada worked in the farm. She fetched water, pounded yam, scrubbed floors with care. The whole village pitied her, but pity could not enter the Odogwu's compound. And when Ada moved too slowly, when she breathed too loudly, when she looked tired, Odogwu would correct her sharply. Ada's frustration grew. Her body ached from overwork, and her spirit felt trapped. One afternoon, Ada returned from the stream carrying a heavy clay pot. Her hands shook, her knees buckled. She leaned on the well near the compound, trying to steady her breath. Odogwu called from inside the house, "Be careful! That pot looks heavy. Handle it properly." Ada blinked, her eyes wet. She whispered a prayer. Not for strength, but for escape. Just one chance. Just one way out. Evening fell. Ada went to fetch water again, her legs trembling from exhaustion. As she bent near the well, her hand slipped and the gourd fell and shattered. Her heart sunk. That night, she endured stern words and strict guidance. She realized that endurance had limits. She could no longer bear the constant control, could no longer serve a man who saw obedience as submission and patience as compliance. With a trembling heart, she packed her few belongings, thinking that perhaps Odogwu would call her back, would reason with her, or appreciate her dedication. But Odogu did not move toward her. Instead, he laughed cruel and sharp. "Take your things and leave this house," he commanded. "Do not return. I will find another wife, more beautiful, more respectful, more obedient, one who will not fail me as you have." Ada left, and as usual, he brought in a new bride, more beautiful and graceful than the last. The villagers often wondered how he was able to bag beautiful women all the time. But of course, he had money to lure them. Chiamaka had come into the house, and before Odogwu could fully show his cruelty, something unexpected happened. Something, or rather, someone arrived. A woman named Ulju entered the village like a fresh wind, tall, bold, and carrying a strength in her eyes that made people pause. The market women stared, the men swallowed hard. Even children whispered, "Who is this one that walks like she owns the ground?" Uju had traveled from Ikemeta after hearing the name Odogwu repeated in every story. Woman beater, heartbreaker, 5 wives gone, no one survives his hands. The stories awakened something inside her, a challenge she could not ignore. "I want to see this man myself," she said, tying her wrapper firmly. But she did not enter the village as a fighter. She came with a plan. The day Uju saw Odogwu for the first time was in the busy Obometa market. He was returning from the palm wine shed, chest out, walking as if the whole village belonged to him. Uju watched silently from a distance. So this is the famous Odogwu," she murmured. She studied him, the arrogance, the pride, the false strength that came from fear, not power. Then she did something that shocked even herself. She walked straight toward him, hips swaying, eyes soft. Odogwu turned and froze. Uju smiled faintly. "You dropped something," she said sweetly. He looked around. "Me? What did I drop?" Uju tapped his chest lightly. "Your face. It almost fell when you saw me." Odogwu blinked, then grinned. Men who control their wives often melted for strangers. "Woman, what is your name?" he asked, licking his lips. "Uju, but only special men call me that." Chiamaka, who followed Odogwu from a distance carrying his basket, felt a sharp pain in her stomach. She knew what she was seeing. Her husband was falling for a stranger. Odogwu puffed proudly. "I will call you Uju," he said boldly. "You will come to my compound." Uju laughed softly and walked away, but her voice floated back to him. "If you impress me." Odogwu stood rooted to the ground. He was hooked. From that day, Odogwu began sneaking out to meet Uju behind the old market. He brought her palm wine, he bought her wrappers, he made promises. Chiamaka noticed the change. He came home late, he pushed her away, he shouted more, he beat her for small mistakes. Whenever she cried, he yelled, "If you don't like it, go. I have found a better woman." Uju pretended to blush whenever Odogwu spoke. She touched his arm softly, she laughed at his lies and stories, but behind that gentle smile, her eyes were sharp, watching, studying, waiting. She gathered secrets, how he treated his wives, how he punished them, how he controlled them. Every time he walked away, Uju whispered to herself, "Good, keep talking, Odogwu, tell me everything." Chiamaka grew thinner, Odogwu grew prouder, and Uju grew closer to completing her plan. One late evening, as Odogwu held her hand and bragged about how he could get any woman he wanted, Uju smiled sweetly, her lashes low. But when she turned away, her face changed, her eyes hardened. She whispered under her breath, "Just a little more, then I will deal with you." Uju did not hesitate. She convinced Odogwu to send the 6th wife away. promising to be the perfect obedient wife he thought he wanted. Chiamaka packed her belongings and left quietly, for she feared both Odogwu and the newcomer. The wedding was simple, yet Odogwu believed he had won the ultimate prize, a wife who would bend to his every command. Uju bowed, smiled, and spoke soft words of devotion, giving no hints of the plan she carried in her heart. At first, Odogwu tested her as he had tested all the wives before her. Before dawn, he shouted, "Uju, water! Uju, firewood! Uju, pound yam!" Uju obeyed, but never as a trembling, fearful woman. She moved with quiet calculation, learning his strengths and weaknesses, noting the rhythm of his anger. She began to quietly implement her plan. The chores, the house rules, the daily routines. Every day, she studied him, the way he walked, how he ate, what pleased him. She learned when to smile, when to nod, when to feign weakness. She allowed him small victories to keep him proud, but the true control of the house had quietly shifted into her hands. By night, the compound whispered her name. That woman is clever. She will change him. And in the quiet hours, Uju whispered to herself, soon, he will fear me as he made others fear him. Soon, he will know what it is to serve, not command. And when he does, peace will fill this home. And then the day came when he tried to strike her, thinking she would flinch and obey like the others. Uju did not flinch. She caught his hand, twisted it and shouted back. The villagers outside the compound heard the shouts, but when they saw Odogwu staggering under the blows, they could not believe their eyes. The power in the household began to shift. After his failed attempt to strike Uju, something in him changed. For the first time in his life, his hand had been stopped in the air. For the first time, fear touched his heart. He went out quietly the next day and began to ask around, "Who is Uju really?" He asked the villagers, his voice low and careful. The answers shook him. "That woman," one man whispered, "she is a fighter, a woman no one has ever defeated." Another added, "Even men fear her. That one is not an ordinary woman, no." Fear gripped him like cold fingers. When he returned home that evening, he was a different man. He did not shout. He did not raise his hand. Instead, he started preparing dinner. He cleaned the house. He went to the stream to fetch water. The same man who once roared like a lion now moved like a cautious child. Uju watched him quietly. And for the first time, he obeyed her without a word. And when his friends asked him why he was now doing all the house chores, he only smiled and said, "I love my wife." They laughed because they knew the truth. He did everything in the house. He swept. He cooked. He fetched water from the stream. He washed clothes. Uju never lifted a finger. He was careful in the way he spoke to her, careful in the way he looked at her, careful in every step he took. He did not want to provoke her in any way. The man who once ruled his compound with anger now walked like someone living on borrowed time, quiet, obedient, afraid. He even begged for divorce, promising he would be a changed man. But Uju refused to leave. He had met his match. Slowly, the balance of the home changed. He became the wife, and Uju became the husband. But Uju was not satisfied. She wanted him to taste his own medicine. One morning, she woke before him. Without a word, she struck him for no reason. Before he could even understand what was happening, she tied him up. From morning till night, she struck him without mercy, without explanation, without pity. And that was just the beginning. She made it her routine. Every morning, he woke in fear. Every night, he slept in pain. Every day, he lived the life he once forced on others. For 1 full month, Odogu knew no peace. The man who once terrified women now feared the sunrise. Because sunrise meant pain, shame swallowed him. Pride left him. Fear became his only companion. Until one market day, Odogu dragged himself to the village square, his body weak, his spirit broken. Before the elders, the women, the children and the men of the community, he fell on his knees. With shaking lips and lowered head, he made a promise. "I, Odogu, swear before this village and before the gods of our land, I will never raise my hand against any woman again, Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. The crowd went silent, and for the first time, Odogu begged.
Slowly, over time, Odogu did begin to behave differently. Not because Uju forced him with words or plans, but because he feared losing her. He began to fall in love with her because of the way she stood up for herself. He began to treat her with care, learned to respect her, and finally understood what it meant to have a partner in the home, not a servant. Uju became pregnant, giving birth to his son. The house, once ruled by fear and pain, was now filled with peace. Odogu carried his child with pride, and the two of them built a life together. The villagers could hardly believe the change, but everyone knew one truth. The man who struck women met a woman he could not strike, and it transformed him. Mothers would tell their children every evening, men should never maltreat their wives. Women are not for such. They are precious and deserve love, care, and respect. Assertiveness in a household does not require strictness. Leadership is best exercised with wisdom and respect. Women too should know when to leave a home that is harmful and when to stay in a place where love and mutual respect exist. Abuse destroys homes, but respect and care build families.